Hello, everybody. I need to talk to you about what's going to be happening with the Disney cast members about this layoff that's going to be happening here in the next little while. There's about 7,000 cast members or employees that are going to be let go. Is it really 7,000? We'll come back to that in just a moment. We're going to come back to that number in just a moment, but I'm going to explain to you why it's happening and what's going on. Let's break it down. Now, before we get into it, you might be thinking, Chris, what's going on with the mustache and all this stuff? If you're really interested in that, go watch yesterday's video I did about the ways that Disney does this manipulative storytelling about falling. I'll explain the whole mustache thing in that video there. But let's get into what's happening. Bob Iger just sent out a memo to all of their employees, to the mid-level management and to the executives saying, hey, I want you to look for employees that we're looking for redundancies, and we're going to get ready to start to lay off people. Now, before we even talk about the number, who's going to be laid off and what's going to be happening that, I need to talk to you about why this is happening. So we need to talk about Disney Plus. And sometimes sometimes in the news, you might hear it called DTC. That says direct to consumer. They just call it DTC. This is the division where Disney's really suffering and they're losing money. And when they're talking about DTC or direct to consumer, they're talking about Disney Plus, like the Hulu and all this stuff. They're losing some money there. So here's what I'm going to show you. This little line right here. I created this little handy dandy graph. I know you guys love this graph. Do you see this black line there? Now the black line is on purpose. It's on purpose. And the reason it's a black line is when a company is profitable, back in the olden days, they would write it in ledgers, right? And when the company became profitable, the ink they would use was black. When the company was not profitable or operating at a loss, they wrote the numbers in red. Now, that's also one of the reasons why we all have heard of Black Friday. The reason that's called Black Friday is because a lot of companies, that's when they become profitable. That big, huge, giant seller selling so much merchandise and goods, all that, then all of a sudden they are able to start writing in their ledgers in black ink, hence the term Black Friday for selling, okay? So this is a line, we're talking here about Disney Plus. They have to be here or higher in order for Disney Plus to be profitable. And right now, Disney Plus is operating at a loss. And people are like, oh my gosh, they're operating at a loss. That's not unusual. A lot of companies operate at a loss, particularly when they first get started. That's okay. It's to be normal. The thing that they have to see, though, is that the operating at a loss needs to be shrinking, right? We've got to be shrinking that operational loss. So eventually, it can become profitable. Wall Street is always watching that operational loss to see what's going on. What is the company doing to correct that? How are they doing this? That is a big play. What's going on here is this operational loss. So we have this line right here. Well, when it first started, Disney Plus first started, you can see right there, they were $633 million in operational loss, okay? So they're like $633 million in operational loss, but it's, that's when Disney Plus first got started in 2019 and 2020. It really started going. They started getting new subscribers. They were working at an operational loss. Now, the problem you have with like this direct-to-consumer type of thing is you need to keep attracting new subscribers, right? You want to keep getting more and more subscribers, trying to make the pie bigger and bigger and bigger. And Disney, at that time, what they did is that they run in and says, the way that we will get new people is by having content, new content. And this was under the kind of Bob Chapek era, and he was like putting a lot of money at new content, and his content was coming out. The problem was they were putting a ton of money towards content, but it wasn't necessarily attracting new subscribers. Not everybody wasn't like all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I got to go watch that show, so I got to go subscribe to Disney Plus. And that wasn't happening. But the cost for the DTC, the direct-to-consumer, was increasing. And here's when Bob Chapek, in his last quarterly earnings call, he dropped the bombshell that they were now $1.55 billion in an operating loss. So they went from like 633 million and they went way down. And this is what's happening is when you are trending down, I just do that little thing. See, when you're trending down, like we're going the direction, time is flowing this way. If you're trending down, Wall Street freaks out. They're like, what is going on? Because this isn't helping. And on top of that, Disney actually that quarter, they lost 2.4 million subscribers. Now there's this is a very complicated issue and I'm kind of simplifying it, but I'm giving you an idea of what's going on. Bob Chapek, though, said on that particular phone call, that earnings call, he said the famous quote, content, content, content. It's all about content. If we keep putting out more and more content, people are going to come. Don't worry. It's going to become profitable by 2024. That was the estimate when it was right here when they were operating a loss of $633 million loss. They projected that they'd be profitable by 2024. And now all of a sudden, it's almost like a triple of a loss. But Bob Chapek was like, don't worry, content. Wall Street wasn't convinced of that. They're like, no, you can't, you're pumping out content and you're not getting new subscribers. You're actually spending more than you're making, and it's at a loss. We're at a loss. And so Bob Iger, we all know Bob Iger came in, and one of the things that he's dealing with right now is this content issue for Disney Plus. And he just spoke at this Morgan Stanley symposium, and he talked about, like, you know, making sure we have quality over quantity, not just to keep chucking out content that nobody's going to watch or care about because it's expensive. And the operational costs have gotten so high that Bob Iger says that is where we have to go first to take a look at operational costs, because the operating costs to make a movie or a TV show is so high that it's not really profitable for them to keep doing that. So they want to make sure that they're doing quality content, even if it's less. And so he's reeling everything in. That's why Disney Plus is losing so much money, is they had poured all this money into doing content, and they weren't really getting new subscribers. They weren't growing. It's kind of become stagnant. In fact, they even had a dip in their subscribers, and that's very concerning to Wall Street. So Bob Iger came in, and we talked. I did another video talking about how that they're going to get ready to. Some of the things are. He's got 3 new pillars, right? He's got entertainment, he's got sports, and theme parks. Right now, we are talking solely pretty much in the entertainment area. This is like, you got Disney and Marvel, Disney Plus, all of this, everything there, Star Wars, all of this falls in that one giant bucket. And they're taking a look at that. Now, originally, Bob Iger said that they are going to be letting go 7,000 employees. They kind of did a little tiny bit of a spin. He did say this. He said, well, what they're going to be looking at now is they're going to be looking at 4,000 employees to be let go. And then they have these job requisitions that are trying to be filled. They're just not going to fill them. They're going to have like 3,000 jobs out there that says, you know what, we're just not going to hire. We have this hiring freeze. We're not going to hire. So it's really 4,000, not 7,000. So people are like, all right, so it's not as bad. Now, I'm going to talk to you about my business experience from prior, when I became like this goofy YouTuber, my experience of working in the business world. And it was quite extensive, is that I think that's a little bit of a boilerplate. That's a thing that companies do, because what they can do is they can let go of those 4,000 people. And then if that's still not enough of a push, then they can say, oh, you know what, you misinterpreted that 3,000 hiring freeze. We actually have another 3,000 people we have to let go. So that's kind of what they're trying to do. But if this 4,000 people, if they do get let go, then that does right the ship. Then they can come back and say, hey, we did it with 4,000 people. Now, this memo that Bob Iger sent out to a bunch of their managers, mid-level managements, executives, they said, hey, we want you to look for redundancy. So I want to give you an example of what they're talking about. It says, look for redundancy in the office. So redundancy. So right now we've got this example here. We got Jordan and we got Aaron. Jordan makes 2 squares and a triangle per hour. That's what she makes. That's what she's producing on this assembly line. She's making 2 squares and 1 triangle every hour. Aaron, she is making 3 triangles every hour. She's assembling 3 triangles. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, that is kind of, we have a little bit of redundancy here. What you realize is maybe Jordan might be considered a more valuable employee because they also are getting a triangle out. So Aaron might be being considered for redundancy. That's kind of the type that they're looking for. But there is something that they didn't mention at all in the memos, and we need to talk about, and this is from the business world, and I want to talk about this because this is a big deal. They're looking for also what's called bloat. Bloat, that is important. And what is bloat? Bloat is when you can do this. Let's take that example again. So we have Aaron and we have Jordan again. I'm writing this as examples. And we're going to say that Aaron, I'm going to put Aaron is making $50,000 a year. And let's say Jordan is making $120,000 a year. And Jordan is doing her job or his job, and Aaron's doing hers or his job. But look at this here. This is bloat. Aaron is making $50,000 and Jordan is making $120,000, and this is what they're producing. And what happens is managers can take a look at that and say, you know what we can do? If we got rid of Jordan, what we can actually do is we can get rid of Jordan, and then I can hire 2 new employees. I can hire a Kim. Let's do this here. and also Jen. I hired Kim and a Jen, and they could all be making those 3 triangles on squares. And if you paid each of them $50,000, now I've got 3 employees, and I still had and now I'm actually at an operational loss of a negative $20,000 because we got rid of that one high salary, and our production is even higher. That is what Disney is going to be going through. It's a difficult process. Now, in my experience, I was reading a bunch of comments. They're asking, like, are they going to lay them all off at one time, or do you think they're going to stagger it? I personally believe that what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to try to lay them all off in one day. The reason I say this, of course, is just speculation, and this is just my business experience, is morale and production goes down during this time. And if they laid off 1,000 like on a Friday, then the next Friday it was like, is this another round? And people don't work at their optimum proficiencies during that time, and it's really hard on people. It's just best to rip that off, and so that they just do it in one time. I believe that since Disney has already announced the numbers of 4,000 or 7,000, that they know that they have to do this, because the second one person starts getting laid off, they all start getting laid off. They're going to be texting their friends like, it's happening, and it just spreads like wildfire throughout the company. Everybody knows what's going on during that day, and it's very difficult. So I think Disney's aware of the culture, what's happened, and they are probably going to try to do that one day. And I have empathy for all you employees out there. I am so sorry that this could be happening to you. I don't know which employees. People always ask me, well, who's going to, I don't know. I don't work for Disney, so I don't know that. I just let you know that this is going to be happening, probably happening by the end of April, sometime mid-April to end of April. This should be happening. And this is what Bob Iger is going to be doing. The reason they're doing this is because this is going to reduce the operational, remember this whole thing right here, this operational loss. Bob Iger is going to do try to make this operational loss less by having salaries reduced, and then he said 2.5 billion is going to come from like employees, and then the other 3 billion that he's going to try is going to come from like shows and operating costs and production costs, and try to reduce all of that, so that way he can feel like he can right the ship and make the direct to consumer product profitable. And this is just the situation that we're in. I just want to hear what you guys think down below. I know that I have simplified something so incredibly complex, but I'm just trying to let people know what's about to happen so you be prepared for it. If you want to put down comments down below, tell me what you think. If you have any information that you think that, hey, Chris, you didn't talk about this, you should talk about this, I'd be happy to read your comments, and then maybe I can make it another video talking about this if I was missing anything of importance. I want you guys to know that each one of you is amazing and awesome, and take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.